So you defeated the wall of flesh and entered hard mode. The hollow is spreading as a peaceful soundtrack kicks in. You look around at all the new monsters that have entered your world and think to yourself, I'm gonna need a bigger knife. Anywho, how's it been, Rogue? Have you finished all your manga? Yeah, I've actually gone through a lot of them. Currently catching up on Jujutsu Kaisen. Itadori just up. I know it's practically a requirement for you Jujutsu Kaisen manga readers to spoil, everything for the anime watchers, but I'm not gonna allow it. Instead, let's put you to work. Time to get you ready for hard mode. You mine some cobalt for some cobalt kunais and start hunting in the astral infection biome for some titan hearts. Then you take some astral monoliths and make the titan heart armor. This armor set gives you plenty of little buffs to rogue damage, but perhaps the most helpful thing to you currently is the ammo use reduction. This means you can spam even more with your throwing weapons. And after a quick humbling by a random Skeletron Prime spawn, you decide to... I decided to turn down the difficulty to Expert Mode. It's still on Revengeance, but man, this Master Mode scaling is brutal. And frankly, I'm okay with being on record for saying that it's not fun. Or that I don't enjoy it. Fun is subjective, but moving forward, this change will be applied to all the other classes. And now that I'm done whining about something that probably only like 4 people care about, you decide to take to the ice biome to prep for cryogen, picking up a random summon while we gather the materials. Next up, a better weapon for actually dealing damage to the boss. How about we get that bigger knife you wanted? The Prismaline is an upgraded version of the pre-hard mode Crystalline and has added homing with each throw, perfect for spam against Cryogen's refreshing ice shield. So after killing a giant clam, you take the necessary items to the crafting station and make the new weapon. Now you take this new weapon to the ice biome to start the fight. This spinny, floating ice cube requires a bit of an arena and a lot of chucking. Eventually, it gets shattered and you've freed some random old guy. Oh hi-yo, OG-san. Now it's time to do that a few more times for your actual weapon. Yes, you will be needing all the different weapon drops from Cryogen and a few other things to actually craft this damn Calvin Catalyst. Hey, at least the damage is great. Oh, and the added benefit of slaying Cryogen is a new pair of wings in the form of the Soul of Cryogen, which gives you a 7% damage buff to all your damage. Let's take these wings and the Calvin Catalyst to the mechanical bosses. After quickly gathering the summoning items, you start the mechanical rush with the Destroyer. As it's a worm boss, the stealth strikes cut through a bunch of different segments and cleans up the spawned minions pretty efficiently. Doesn't take long before the Destroyer gets destroyed. Now to move on to the next fight, against the twins. The Calvin Catalyst might not be the best weapon for this fight, as it constantly damages both eyes, leading to a double phase 2. But despite the drawback of having to fight both of them in their second and third phases at the same time, the fact that they're both taking damage with each throw is a great boon. That and Retinazer is kinda bad at aiming. After a bit more chucking, you've beat yet another mech boss. Finally, Skeletron Prime. Thanks to the many projectiles created by the stealth strikes, the hands go down quickly. After that, you focus on spinning around the boss as he launches skulls at you and occasionally rushes you down. But after an arm-exhausting amount of throwing later, Skeletron Prime blows up into smithereens. Well done, Rogue, you've cleaned up all the mechanical bosses. This means that you've unlocked a bunch of new upgrades to get. So let's get those. To start with, your accessories could all use a revamp. First, you'll want to pick up the Electrician's Glove for the added damage, but more so for the added healing. That healing factor only comes in with stealth strikes, so to help with stealth generation, you craft the Mirage Mirror. This gives you 25% more stealth generation while standing still, and roughly 12% while moving around. You don't need to reach the full amount of stealth to do a stealth strike thanks to this next item, the Ruin Medallion. To craft this item, you'll need the Coin of Deceit and a few materials you can find in the Brimstone Crag. Now you only need 75% of your stealth bar full in order to do a stealth strike. With all the accessories upgraded, it's time to move on over to your weapon upgrade. You know what that means. Fish! So it's off to the Sulfuric Sea to fight the Aquatic Scourge. This rehydrated desert scourge is another worm boss, meaning your Calvin Catalyst is right in its element. The boss fight requires some good positioning to make those stealth strikes hit true, but other than that, it's practically a waiting game. This is a pretty common theme for stealth strike gameplay, but it's safe and still does solid damage. Eventually, you fillet the fish and take on the newly upgraded Acid Rain event for your newest weapon. the Skyfin Bombers. These tossable fish have some really fast speed and can track very aggressively with the Stealth Strike. Something to note is that the Stealth Strike DPS is only slightly higher than simply spamming the fish. But in case you still want to use Stealth Strikes, you decide to pick up some Concentrated Water. Now for the next boss, the Calamitous Clone. This boss fight starts off pretty normal, featuring a fairly easy to dodge attack pattern. Lower the health a bit to trigger a bullet hell phase, and then it's back to action. Once the siblings spawn, you utilize your Calvin Catalyst to damage them in groups, and then use your fish to gain distance. And after a close and embarrassing showing of your dodging capabilities, you just barely squeeze in the victory and say goodbye to one of the best soundtracks in the game. Now to clear out some space in the jungle for your next boss, Plantra. Well, not quite as spin to win as base game, as she runs away from you in Phase 1, Phase 2 brings that back. Nothing too fancy at that point, just spin around until you've thoroughly watered the plant and now you've unlocked the Jungle Temple. Not that we'll be facing that just yet. Revengeance Golem is a lot more aggressive than usual, so we'll be wanting a few more upgrades before we face it, such as some new armor. You simply need to wait for a solar eclipse, then get to killing for some solar veils. Then combine with some hollowed bars for the Umbraphile armor. And let's also make some bat wings, why not? There's actually another helpful thing that we can craft using those solar veils, the Vampiric Talisman. This requires a rogue emblem from the Wall of Flesh, and it'll be staying on you for a long time. The Vampiric Talisman gives critical hits done by any rogue projectile a bit of healing. The healing is based off of 1.5% damage dealt, but has no cap, although it does have a cooldown. Regardless, more healing is a no-brainer, so let's refine all the accessories to Lucky. You also pick up a few new potions from the Brewer NPC, like the Ninja Potion from the AlchemistNPC Mod. This gives you an additional 5% crit chance, but perhaps more importantly, gives you a chance to dodge attacks. And spoiler warning, this might be the most broken potion in the whole game. We might as well pick up the current max health that you can get at this stage. So you gather some life fruits as you find the Jungle Temple. Then you craft those life fruits with some of the mech boss souls to give you the Blood Orange, which can give you an additional 25 health. Now to take this new gear to a mini-boss in the desert. The Great Sand Shark spawns in after you kill enough sand sharks during a sandstorm. Wow, that's a lot of sand. With a few tosses, it gets slain, then you can take the Grand Scale to your workstation and craft the Dust Storm in a bottle. I certainly hope you enjoy the bottle breaking sound effect, because we're never gonna escape it. This weapon is much more spam focused, and doesn't benefit as much from its weaker Stealth Strike effect. So let's pick up the Deep Wounder from the Bandit for its Stealth Strike effect, which can mark enemies, taking away half of their damage reduction for a short amount of time. Now with all these new upgrades, you're ready to fight the Golem. You clear away all the spikes and traps, put up some platforms, and start the fight. The hands go down quickly, and the Golem starts, rightfully, freaking out, jumping and diving at you as explosive fireballs ignite the arena. Using some quick movements, you eventually secure the final hit on the creation, shattering it into pieces. With the Golem defeated, there's not really that many items that would significantly outperform what you currently have. So let's do a little filler arc and take on Duke Fishron.
Actually, mangas don't have those pointless filler arcs that plague the inferior anime. Besides, isn't that joke, kind of irrelevant now? Filler arcs haven't been a thing since the switch to seasonal anime rather than weekly episodes.
Okay, fair point, but hush, it's time for the boss fight. This fight stays pretty true to the original, but cranked up the intensity. The Duke chases you down much more aggressively, with increased movement. His constant dashing at you means that you can just spam bottles at him with very little aiming. But man, I did not play up the speed increase enough. The Duke barely gives you any time to land and regen stealth, meaning that you just have to deal raw damage. Thankfully, that's what the Dust Storm in the bottle is best at, and after a long, glass-shattering battle, you claim victory and have acquired the Duke's Decapitator. This nifty little rogue weapon spins in place once it hits something, meaning it can constantly damage it. Add in the spam factor and consider how bad its Stealth Strike is, and you got a recipe for some really great single-target damage. Now, before we go to the Lunar Cultist, let's pick up some more health. Using the Pixar you got from the Golem, you can mine up some Scorina ore from the Abyss and some Cryonic ore from the Ice biome. Then with the Perennial ore, you craft them all into some bars and make some Life Alloy. Combine that with some other items and boom, 25 more health. Let's take this newly improved you to the dungeon to fight the Lunar Cultist. You're unexpected. This must be a good omen.
Did you just anime line me?
I beg your pardon?
Oh, hell no, that's my thing. You're dead, bucko.
Well fought, Anomaly. After defeating the Lunar Cultist, the Celestial Pillars descend upon your world. You rush to the Vortex Pillar to defeat it, picking up some mysterious black goo, which, when combined with some Starblight soot from the Astral Infection, makes the Meld Construct. With this, you can upgrade your Ruined Medallion and Silencing Sheath into the Dark Matter Sheath, giving you more stealth and making stealth strikes only require half the amount they usually do. The next thing that you can craft with these will immediately outperform that Duke's Decapitator you just got. The Star of Destruction is a rogue weapon that deals great initial damage and then can explode into a bunch of fast homing projectiles that deal even more damage. That makes this a true Terraria weapon, as you hardly need to aim in order to slay bosses. So with your new weapon, it's time to clear out the rest of these unnecessary pillars and begin your fight against the Moon Lord.
So soraze, kore wa.